had a lot more range. You know, he could actually go in there and wrestle probably anybody, whereas Hogan was very limited, and if he wrestled the wrong person, it would be an incredibly boring match. I just have to go with Hogan because he is, you know, like I say, he's immortal in that. But when you think of wrestling, it is kind of synonymous with Hogan. You know, people always remember back to their childhood, and if you go on the high street and you said name a wrestler, I said 90% would say Hogan. You know, in the list.
Yeah, that's for sure. I totally agree with that. Hulk Hogan is the biggest household name that wrestling has ever had, the most iconic wrestler. And again, Vince, ploughed that into WrestleMania, Hulkamania, and all the rest of it run wild. The Ric Flair I always think of whenever I'm making these decisions is the Ric Flair from the NWA territory days. It's the Ric Flair going around to each territory defending the NWA title. Not so much the Ric Flair that you saw in WCW or even in WWE, because it was different for him at that time. But he was a legit world's champion. He held the belt for so long, and the matches he had with Ricky Steamboat are so good, so iconic matches that he had. And the way he could cut a promo, the way he carried himself, almost like his daughter does today, really well. You can see where she gets that from. And yeah, just had that. It was they were the sort of first group that. I know that Evolution was another type of horseman in a lot of ways, but they were the sort of first guys that came along and like we're better than everybody else. We buy the expensive stuff. Those were the way they carried themselves. But again, we've of course when we get into our wrestling arts, we've been watching another guy, Buddy Rogers, where you'll see Ric Flair a lot in him going out, no doubt about it. But it's a difficult one because I think overall you'd probably say Hulk Hogan. But just for me personally, I go with Flair on this one. But again, everybody has said Jimbo. I mean, I don't know what you were trying to do to us. I think he was trying to pull us apart. I think a lot there because that was some really hard calls. There wasn't one of them that was easy. So thank you, Jimbo.
There was one more, wasn't there? I think I remember Kurt Angle HBK.
Oh, of course, yes, there is. Yes, he didn't put it down in this one, but yes, you're right. He did say that. Yes, and I believe I said Shawn Michaels. Yeah.
Yeah, you've got to be Shawn Michaels. For me, the greatest all-round competitor like wrestling or pro wrestling has seen.
Promos,
charisma, in-ring talent, promos, everything, and pulling off the greatest big matches, and it says something when he was used in the first this, the first that, first Hell in a Cell, first Elimination Chamber, definitely speaks volumes.
Yeah, I will add that Kurt Angle, by the way, is still an amazing wrestler. Still amazing.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, when you go back and definitely, I tell people to definitely tune in to King of the Ring if you're an Angle fan for sure, because you get to see a very young Kurt Angle, and that guy he picked up very, very fast, maybe even quicker than old HBK did back in these very early days in the AWA with Mike Jannetty, because Angle literally got it very, very fast. He got his character down to a T, and also had some incredible matches. I would say, Matt, that if he hadn't have had so many problems with the painkillers and the whole issue with WWE, that perhaps he could have, the legacy of Kurt Angle would have been even more better than it already is. Because I just feel he would have had some more iconic matches in WWE than in TNA. But that's for another day. But yes, Jimbo, thank you for your for that and pulling us apart as much as you did. And yes, we'll see you in the new year, Jimbo, if you don't make it back before then. But if you do, you're always welcome, of course. Thank you very much. Okay, let's move on. DX1 now. What's the chances of seeing CM Punk return into WWE? Well, I'm going to start with that, and I'm going to say at this point, no. But you never say never. But at the moment, let's say in the next 12 months, I say no. What about you, Matt?
Well, as I say, it's funny enough, we've been talking about this, like messaging each other, talking about like having a little bit of a laugh, and we were saying with all this Goldberg stuff coming in, you know, he left on bad terms, thinking all these part-timers were getting all the big spots. You know, with people like Goldberg coming back, getting the main event pictures, and like in the getting all the spotlight, I think that's got to be cheesing him off a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I think CM Punk, I think he will do another MMA fight. I don't think it'll be in UFC, but I reckon he'll have another MMA fight. It'll be somewhere else. I don't think it'll be on UFC. But then again, it wouldn't surprise me if it was like on a fight night. They might do it on there because he can draw. That's the thing. He's still got name power. But I reckon he'll have another go at it, Matt. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it kind of feels like he has to. I mean, I think we spoke about this after he had his the UFC fight.
Mm-hmm.
That, you know, it would feel like a personal goal to go out there and get a win, wouldn't it? To feel like you actually went out and tried this, and then you did have some degree of success.
Yeah.
Because to go back to WWE, a failed UFC fighter, even though like tremendous respect for the guy for trying it, because you know most people wouldn't. But yeah, I think you have to go out there and try and achieve in this field, so you can go back to. If you did ever go back to WWE, you go back there with some more credibility, and you know you wouldn't look like you was just tucking your tail between your legs and going back to what you know.
Sure. Yeah, that's where I stand with that one. Here's an interesting name, Honest Joe. Getting more interesting names as we go along in this podcast. The show is rocking. Thank you, Joe. Do you think Royal Rumble will be stronger as it's going to be in front of a huge audience? So, Matt, we know we're going... Well, in fact, those of you that join us on our 20 Back series, it's literally 20 Back because they're in the exact same arena, Matt. You know, in San Antonio. It's going to, you know, it was about 60,000, I think they packed into that one. It's just... Of course, when we go back, it's going to be a big thing. But I mean, they have got to pack it out, and you know, as I reiterated sometime in '97, they actually gave away a lot of the tickets just to get people in there. They won't be doing that next year. I can certainly assure you of that. So they have got to get something in there. But you know, the Royal Rumble is its own thing, the Rumble match. But I will say one thing: it's not exactly the draw it once was, Matt. I mean, they probably are going to have a big match on there, regardless of just the Rumble.
Yeah. Well, I think putting Goldberg in there is a big help to them. You know, that will draw some interest, I imagine. But you know, for me, I would be looking to have Undertaker like get involved in this somehow. You know, have a match like possibly with AJ. It does make a bit of sense. You know, whether they want to save that up for WrestleMania, I don't know. But I think that would definitely sell it for me.
Yes, yeah, you know, like I say, I think that the Rumble, you know, they're looking at, you know, these 4 big pay-per-view things now. WWE are trying to make, you know, not just a weekend, but almost a week of it. You know, they're putting NXT on, they're putting Raw and SmackDown in the same place. I mean, they're trying to sell out as much as they possibly can, but you know, they've got to be careful in the sense that they're very close to WrestleMania, and you don't want. You know, you don't want Royal Rumble to be better than that. And last year's WrestleMania, Matt, quite frankly, or this year's WrestleMania, should I say, was quite diabolical. And it was very weak, really, when you look back at it. Didn't really achieve anything, and all the results were completely wrong. From all over the shop to AJ Styles and Jericho, that was ridiculous, the outcome on that. And, of course, Roman Reigns and Triple H, which now looks really like a load of nonsense. Like, why did we even have that? Shane and Undertaker, that's just what it was. Shane's still around today. So I don't know what that was all about. I don't even know why they had that match. And of course, Dean and Brock, I mean, less said about that, the better. There were a lot of matches on there, Matt, that did not make any sense. And then, of course, you get someone like poor old Eric Rowan against The Rock for 10 seconds. Just even worse, isn't it? So, you know, they can't do much worse than that. But then again, I wouldn't be surprised either way at the moment. I mean, they've got some serious problems because they have to get something going it's not just got to be about the part-time guys. They've got to get their own thing going so that there's more interest on some of those titles. Really have Owens and the Universal title belt and the WWE one. They've got to have something going for them, and hopefully, as Matt alluded to, the Undertaker is going to be somewhere in that. Matt, do you see anything? Because I know a lot of people ages ago said about Shawn Michaels. Do you think that's all pie in the sky now?
Yeah, I mean, I hate to say it, but I hope that it is, because I do respect Shawn Michaels so much for actually staying out of the wrestling scene as long as he has. And, once you've said you're retired, I like that kind of old school mentality, because no one's going to retire you better than The Undertaker can,
Yeah.
I would hate to see that spoiled. So hopefully, it's not Shawn Michaels, but I wouldn't be against him bringing someone else back. I know we complain about the part-timers and how they shouldn't get their part, but, a surprise entrant in the Royal Rumble doesn't go amiss here and there.
Yep, absolutely. Craig Short now from Washington. I'm a wrestling/MMA fan. Just wanted to know what you think about WWE reaching out to McGregor. And if they did pull it off, what would they have him doing? So, Conor McGregor, Matt, I think you saw something about Triple H reaching out, didn't you, a little while ago?
That he'd be up for that, open to that, and it would be ridiculous business sense if you said you wasn't, really, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
What they've got right now in McGregor, and what the opportunity is, and what I'm sure they probably hope to achieve would be, like what they did in the late 90s with the popularity that Tyson had.
Mm-hmm.
That would be the kind of impact I reckon this would have.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the thing is with McGregor, he doesn't even need to fight. He could just get in an altercation at WrestleMania. It could just be like that. Like McGregor's coming to WrestleMania. That would sell it on itself, because people just tune in to see what this guy's going to do. You've not even got to sell him. You've not even got to put him on a one-on-one match. And quite frankly, they'd have to be careful if they did, because of McGregor's weight and size. Like it could look silly. So they'd probably have to rethink how they work it. Again, if it was someone like an AJ Styles or Finn Balor, that sort of thing, I mean, it's different. But you'd have to be careful, because if you put him next to Brock Lesnar, for instance, it could get a bit silly. But I just think to have him there, kind of spewing his mouth and just having a go at all the wrestlers is probably enough entertainment for the entire night. So let's put it this way: whatever McGregor touches currently turns to gold and a lot of money. And if they did manage to do that, by the way, he's going to get a pot full of money, and probably so will UFC. So I don't know how how feasible that all is at the moment to have him there currently. Raul emails in. I am a big fan of Owens, but his critics say he doesn't look in best shape to be a heavyweight champion. What are your thoughts? What do you think? I'm sorry, he's got another question on the back of that, which is, what do you think to seeing Braun Strowman versus Big Show at WrestleMania? Matt, the first part of the question about Kevin Owens, does he look the part as a champion? He has had his critics. What's your sort of overall thoughts on Kevin Owens' body, and is it as big a deal now as what people say?
I guess he doesn't have the traditional kind of build that a champion would have, but this is kind of those double standards, really, isn't it? Like, it's okay for Kevin Owens to be in Ring of Honor and become champion, and hold that title and be the best kind of champion they got down there for as long as he's going to hold it. That's fine. But when it gets to WWE, there's like a whole different level of expectation. Like, you can't look like that and be champion. Well, there's no real difference. Like, the wrestling down at Ring of Honor it is incredible, it's amazing. So, like, there's no reason why what he's doing down there is not, like, as good in WWE, because in WWE, Kevin Owens is restricted to what he can do. We're not even seeing the full potential of Kevin Owens in WWE right now. So, in my mind, I have no doubt that he is a really deserving champion. So, what he looks like doesn't really matter to me too much.
Yeah, and I totally agree with everything that Matt's just said there, for sure. And when it comes to Big Show, Braun Strowman at WrestleMania, Matt, does that excite you?
WrestleMania?
Yeah.
Well, it's so hard to come back from the knockback of last year, really, or this year. Guess I've got to say currently, but I can only hope that after the last disaster they've had, that they're going to actually think, wait a minute, we had a lot of problems back then. This year's a bit better. We've made some new potential